The ocean was unnaturally still that night, as if the world itself had forgotten how to breathe. The ship moved forward without resistance, cutting through water that felt more like glass than sea. Every crew member sensed something watching from below, patient and ancient, waiting for them to make the wrong decision. Deep inside forgotten naval archives, a marine researcher uncovered a map that should not have existed. It was drawn on decayed parchment that felt strangely warm to the touch, as if it still carried life. The island marked on it did not appear on any modern system or satellite record. The map carried a warning written in jagged ink that seemed to shift when stared at too long. It claimed that only one specific bloodline could survive on the island. The rest were not forbidden. They were simply incompatible with whatever ruled there. Despite the warning, a secret expedition was formed, driven by curiosity and scientific obsession. The crew included navigators, researchers, and security personnel who believed they were prepared for anything. None of them understood that preparation meant nothing against something that reshapes reality. As the ship crossed deeper into unknown waters, instruments began to fail one by one. Compasses spun endlessly, sonar returned distorted whispers, and GPS systems displayed coordinates that did not exist. The ocean itself seemed to reject their presence. At night, crew members began experiencing dreams that did not feel like dreams at all. They saw the same island rising from black water, calling each of them by name. Some woke up crying, while others woke up already standing near the edge of the deck. The horizon eventually disappeared into a wall of fog so dense it swallowed sound. The world beyond the ship ceased to exist, replaced by an unnatural silence that pressed against their ears. Even the engine noise felt muted, as if the ship was sinking into another dimension. When the fog finally split, the island appeared without warning, as though it had been waiting just beyond perception. Its cliffs rose sharply like jagged bone formations, carved by something intelligent. The shoreline looked too deliberate to be natural. Figures stood along the beach in perfect stillness, watching the approaching vessel. They did not move or react, only observed with synchronized attention. Their presence suggested expectation rather than surprise. The ship anchored reluctantly, as if the sea itself resisted the decision. Something brushed against the hull from beneath the water, slow and deliberate, testing its structure. Metal groaned softly, as if being examined by invisible hands. A wooden pier extended from the shoreline without anyone visible constructing it. It simply existed the moment attention focused on it, as though reality had filled in a missing detail. The island was already prepared for their arrival. The crew stepped onto the island under heavy silence that felt physically oppressive. Each breath became thicker, as if the air carried weight. The ground beneath their feet felt subtly alive, responding to pressure. They were led into a stone hall carved from black rock that seemed older than civilization itself. The entrance sealed behind them with a sound like earth collapsing over graves. No one spoke as darkness swallowed their path forward. Inside the hall, torches revealed markings that resembled veins spreading across living tissue. The architecture did not feel built but grown, as if the structure had formed naturally over time. The hall itself felt aware of their presence. Elders stood waiting in a circle around a stone basin at the center of the chamber. Their expressions were calm, almost empty, as though emotion had been removed long ago. They watched the outsiders not as guests, but as materials being evaluated. One by one, the outsiders were called forward for the ritual. A blade touched skin briefly, drawing a single drop of blood from each person. The process was simple, yet the atmosphere made it feel like judgment. The moment blood touched the stone, reactions varied violently without explanation. Some samples sank instantly, absorbed like water into dry earth. Others hissed and darkened as if rejecting existence itself. Those whose blood was rejected were quietly taken toward a dark passage without struggle. No screams followed, only silence that felt heavier than sound. The remaining survivors were forced to watch without understanding what was happening. From deep within the passage, no voices returned, only absence. It was not death in any familiar sense, but disappearance from reality itself. Even memory of those taken began fading too quickly to hold on to. The survivors soon realized the island was not killing randomly. It was sorting them according to something far older than human understanding. The ritual was not judgment, it was compatibility testing. That night the island changed. The ground felt softer, as though it remembered being something else before becoming land. Every step sank slightly deeper than it should have, as if the earth was adjusting itself. One man vanished before dawn without sound or trace. His sleeping place remained warm, but his body was gone entirely. There were no footprints leaving, only soil that looked freshly disturbed from below. At sunrise, another survivor simply no longer existed in the group. Her belongings remained, but any trace of her presence was already fading from collective memory. It was as if the island erased her existence gradually. Whispers began rising from beneath the soil during daylight hours. They resembled voices trapped under immense pressure, struggling to form words. Some survivors recognized fragments of speech belonging to those already lost. Attempts to escape the village failed immediately, as paths shifted unnaturally. Every direction led back to the same center point, no matter how far they walked. The geography behaved like a closed loop. The elders showed no reaction to the disappearances. Their calm suggested this had happened many times before. Their silence implied acceptance rather than ignorance. By nightfall, the remaining survivors understood something horrifying. The island was not simply a place. It was a living system that absorbed and reorganized life. Everything here served its growth. The oldest elder finally revealed the truth beneath ritual language. The island was not built by humans or gods, but formed from something that never died. It had risen from deep beneath the ocean over centuries. Long ago, something ancient fell into the sea and remained alive beneath pressure and darkness. Over time, it began shaping the seabed into something resembling consciousness. Land was not formed, it was grown. The island was its body, and every living thing on it became part of its memory. Bloodlines were not ancestry, but compatibility with its structure. Survival depended on resonance with its internal system. Those rejected by the island were not killed immediately. Their bodies were slowly broken down and absorbed into the soil. They became nutrients for something far larger than life. The survivors understood that the whispers beneath them were absorbed consciousness fragments. Every voice was a memory trapped inside the island's growing awareness. The ground was an archive of consumed lives. Escape attempts failed because the island reshaped geography every night. Paths reformed like veins inside a living organism. No direction remained stable long enough to reach the sea. One survivor began experiencing visions of something beneath everything. It had no face, no shape, only overwhelming presence. It communicated not through sound, but through pressure inside the mind. The elders admitted they were caretakers rather than rulers. Their role was to guide compatible bloodlines into acceptance. They had long ago surrendered individuality to the island's will. Markings began spreading across survivors' skin like roots growing inward. Pain intensified whenever resistance increased. The island was rewriting their biology in real time. That night, the island's presence expanded violently. The sea around it began rising without wind or storm. Water formed unnatural walls that blocked every possible escape. The shoreline disappeared entirely as the world outside became unreachable. The island no longer sat in the ocean, it dominated it. Reality itself felt compressed into its boundaries. Panic spread through the remaining survivors as all routes collapsed. The village loops tightened, forcing everyone back toward the center. Escape became conceptually impossible. The marks on their skin began glowing faintly. The transformation was accelerating beyond control. The island was no longer evaluating them, it was integrating them. Elders knelt in silent devotion, fully accepting the rising presence. Their bodies showed no resistance, only submission. They had already completed their transformation long ago. A final survivor attempted escape toward the cliffs, but the terrain reset instantly. The ground reformed beneath his steps, erasing progress completely. The island refused separation. The entire landscape shifted overnight, like living tissue being rearranged. Trees moved closer when unobserved. Even distance itself felt unreliable. The island finally spoke through collective pressure rather than sound. Every mind received the same command simultaneously. It was not language, it was intent. Selection began instantly without warning or delay. Some individuals ceased to exist as separate identities. Others remained but lost ownership of themselves. Screams vanished into the soil before they could escape. Bodies dissolved into the island as if returning home. Resistance only accelerated assimilation. By morning, the island appeared calm again, but it was no longer empty. New figures stood among the elders, their eyes reflecting deep awareness. The island had chosen its continuation, and somewhere beneath the surface, it was still choosing.